couple of things to get out of the way first.
Yes.
First, before we start, how much did you research about everything outside of the film?
Very little. I only remember there's some media gossip. Remember back when
Do you
it was
know the
like
details of the drama?
the Shia LaBeouf drama?
Oh, there's more than
associated?
that. Way more than that.
Oh,
That's like the least interesting part.
Oh man, some worry, darling. Okay, tell me.
I mean,
Oh.
you kind of took my joke, but darling, I'm a little worried. Okay, about this movie. This is a worrying film.
Tell me about the worries.
Well, I'll get to that. Because I was determining whether we should talk about it or not. Because I am not a person who follows celebrity gossip very much.
Same.
I was Jaying my D over this. I thought it was one of the most exciting times in news media of the past 5 or 6 years.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. We will talk about the drama surrounding this. And I know it on kind of like I read a Vox explainer on it, but I did kind of follow what was happening at the time, which was delicious.
I think I only remember it from the time, and now that we're talking about Don't Worry, Darling, now I think it's all a blur.
Well, I'll refresh you then.
Yes.
But listeners may have noticed that we took most of July to do kind of like big blockbuster movies.
Hell yeah.
And now we're going to move back into the more auteurist space. And so obviously we wanted to do Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, my God.
But
top of the list.
Speaking of auteurist, we saw Kinds of Kindness the other day.
My God, what a trip.
New movie alert. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I think it is 100% on brand for Yorgos to just do... Yep. What if I was an animal but horny and confused? Oh, so you mean a regular animal?
What if my playthings on screen were animals? Yep. Basically, I liked it a lot. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
I think it's definitely better than. And this is high praise, but for me, I thought it was better than Poor Things, just because it was funnier than Poor Things. It has like the weirdness of the lobster. It has the kind of sadness of just his life. I think Yorgos waking up in the morning like, yeah, this is what I feel like. And I was like, I'm there with you, Yorg.
Yeah.
I'm there.
I thought, I didn't think it was better than Poor Things, but I thought that it progressively gets better. And I thought the third of the, as people might already know, it's like an anthology film.
Yeah.
And I thought the third of the anthology was amazing. Mm-hmm. I thought it was like, I would watch a whole movie about it, which isn't, but
which is what it felt like.
Saying that, it's like it was a perfect short film.
Correct.
And I actually was like, it felt like reading a really good short story, even so much that I thought I was like, this seems like it was based on a short story, but it wasn't. It was apparently written by the two of them, and I was like,
wow.
I was like, but it had that like satisfying layered nature to it, and I won't give anything away, but. It's and we've talked about Poor Things and how much we liked it. And Kinds of Kindness, if you like Yorgos, you will be on board with this. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say about it is it has the most shockingly broad comedy joke right in the middle that made me die laughing.
What was it?
I don't want to say because it'll spoil it. Yeah.
I just want to say without spoiling that you will just never look Willem Dafoe in the eye anymore.
And no. But what I mean is like the joke I'm talking about. You expect a certain type of Yorgos humor, and then it comes up with the most absurd joke that you're just like, that could be in like a fucking American Pie film, and it's so funny. I love it. Yeah, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it.
It's definitely worth watching at the cinemas for the absurdity of it all.
Yeah. I mean, it was really long, but it's definitely
so long, man.
We're in the pocket with Yorgos, so we.
Yeah.
We were definitely going to like it. But
oh, yeah.
I could definitely tell a couple people, the 5 people in the cinema with us were a little bit like, what? What is this? Emma Stone? You were in fucking some other movie.
She can dance.
Yeah.
That girl.
So, Don't Worry, Darling.
What in the Walmart Black Mirror?
Talk about the plot.
Is going on.
I want to talk about the plot.
Hit me.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I want to talk about the plot is that it has a twist, as people know by now.
Correct.
And the twist is really absurd, just like a patently absurd twist.
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard to talk about the context of the film without knowing what the twist is.
Correct.
And I'm going to say, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Don't Worry, Darling, you will feel so personally insulted by the twist itself that you won't be like, oh, I can't believe they ruined it for me. You'll be like, I'm glad that was ruined for me.
Yeah.
Stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Chris Pine, Gemma Chan, couple other faces. Nick Kroll doing his best to not be like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? The Jolly Green Jizz face from not Vice, Jonah.
And director, author,
and starring
actress.
director, writer, actress, producer, DJ. Friend to all.
Yeah.
Except for some people who will bring up Olivia Wilde.
Olivia Wilde.
Written by Olivia Wilde and Katie Silberman. It's based off a script that was like a big thing. It was on the blacklist. That's a big thing. The actual blacklist.
Oh, geez.
You don't have to know what that is. That's a screenwriter thing where people, it's like a bunch of screenplays that are unproduced and people rank them at the end of the year. And they're like, these are 10 really good screenplays no one's picked up.
Oh.
Olivia Wilde picked it up.
Wow.
This is her second film after Booksmart.
Which is, I mean, what a shockingly good effort for someone who's only made 2 movies. And this is their second.
Booksmart is a great film.
Booksmart is excellent end to end.
So... And I want to get more into this, but
yeah.
The thing that's so interesting to me about this film is how quickly Olivia Wilde went from the anointed, chosen one back to, we'll see.
Okay.
So fast. Because this movie, as Bilge Ebiri in his review says about it, the movie's not as bad and not as good as you think, but, and I quote, the film is smooth, competent, mostly well acted, and merely tedious. Olivia Wilde is a very good director.
She's a really good director.
This is not a good movie, but let's get into the plot.
Yes.
So Jack and Alice, Florence Pugh, and Harry Styles, they live in Victory, which is essentially Palm Springs. It's like a company town.
Yeah.
Heavily, I'm sure Christopher Nolan watched this and was like, that's like Oppenheimer. I want to do Oppenheimer now because of this film.
Hell yeah.
I'm now Australian Christopher Nolan, and I've always wanted to do Oppenheimer.
Oh my God.
What? They live in this town. All it is about it's essentially Mad Men, except Harry Styles goes down on his wife all the time. And
spoiler. Okay,
all of the men go off to work every day,
yeah.
And the wives come out to their driveway and wave them away, and then they drink martinis and clean the house and cook food all day and things like that, and then they cook the food, they put in the effort, and then the men immediately come home and give them head.
Yeah.
That is the life. And then they go to lavish parties, and it's run by Frank, Chris Pine, and Gemma Chan, who is Chris Pine's consort.
This is all literally set in the 50s.
It's supposed to be like this idealistic
utopian cul-de-sac
50s thing, except more pussy eating. That's
which is the least 50s thing about it.
So there's another character played by Kiki Lane.
Yeah.
Who she's not having a good time in Victory. And she's like, this isn't what you think it is.
Yeah.
I'm having these delusions. I mean, at this point in the movie, you already know, especially from, if you remember correctly. So I had heard about this movie, just a little tangent here. Booksmart, loved it. Mm-hmm. I heard about this movie. I was like, cool. Olivia Wilde's not going back to comedy. She's going to a thriller.
Okay.
Cool. I'm hearing about it. Florence Pugh coming off Midsummer. I love Florence Pugh.
The trailer was
coming off Little Women. No. Oh. If you remember, you and I were in the theater and we saw the trailer for this film.
That's
and
right.
we were both like, that looks really bad.
Yeah. Immediately. Because they give away everything. One, in the trailer, everything is given away immediately. And when you start watching the movie, you're like, all right, I'm an hour in. We know something bad's going to happen.
Here's the thing. You get immediately about 10 or 15 minutes in, you get that there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really significantly ramp up the tension at all.
No. It's
just a series of interesting like visual scenes that just feel like ideas. Yeah. Which is what Olivia Wilde that's where her talent comes in. Florence Pugh wrapping her face in cellophane, really cool visual idea, means nothing.
No.
Nothing. She gets squished by her own house, means nothing. Cool visual idea. Kiki Lane, she slits her own throat and falls off the top of her house. Beautifully shot, cool idea that means fucking nothing.
Yep.
Florence Pugh goes out to the desert. She sees a plane crash. Then she finds herself on top of this mountain where there's this big building. Mm-hmm. She touches a window and has a hallucination of something else. She's like, what is this? What could it be? She starts to suspect, after Kiki Lane also kills herself, she starts to suspect that we go through a long series of her starting to suspect there's something wrong.
It's
with
been an hour and a
Victory.
half. She's suspecting
Oh,
things.
she hardcore suspecting. Yeah. Of course, there's no way to possibly give much of a clue what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Which makes the twist all the more insulting. Eventually, she confronts Frank, Chris Pine,
That's right.
based on Jordan Peterson. We'll get to that.
Cult leader.
Cult leader Chris Pine about the town of Victory. There's something wrong here. This isn't real. I don't know what's going on. My husband is tap dancing. I don't know why that's happening.
I'm in my trad wife VR matrix.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't know that. She's like, there's something wrong here because honestly, like, okay, oral sex is great, but it's like too much of it. It can be a little grating.
It's already throwing me off.
I'm trying to eat, and he comes in and interrupts dinner because he wants to eat my pussy.
God damn it.
I just want to eat my roast.
It's a real struggle.
Just wait till I'm done and just before you get in those pants. And Chris Pine is like, interesting. I'm going to give you electroshock therapy. Very 50s housewife. Doesn't work. And eventually she figures out what's going on. I don't remember the catalyst to this because it frankly doesn't matter. She figures out what's happening. And what's happening is, and this is the twist, she is against her will in a virtual reality, basically a created virtual reality by this company that Frank runs so that men can control their wives.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yeah.
She figures this out, that Harry Styles has kidnapped her and put her in this thing. Because Harry Styles in reality is a hapless kind of loser guy.
Discard moderator.
He moderates a Reddit subpage, definitely. Multiple definite Reddit moderator jobs that he takes really seriously.
That the audience knows that Harry Styles in real life has an American accent.
Yeah.
He's very American.
Yeah.
Shoddy, like long hair, stubble, just
and he doesn't take care of his appearance.
No.
And the weirder thing, Florence Pugh is a neurosurgeon, and she is with this guy.
She's there's this shot of Florence Pugh coming home in her scrubs and being like, I've spent 30 hours stitching people together in it. And then
that's exactly what she sounds like.
It's a great impression. And then Harry Styles' character is like, okay, but what about dinner?
He is such a hapless idiot.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that we'll talk a little bit about more.
Yes.
So that's the twist, right? Yeah. She finds out there's a car chase of all ways to end this thriller film. There's a bizarre car chase. She gets to the mountain. She touches the window. She's free. Now, I like that ending if the twist wasn't so absurd. And it's fine. Like, I like the way she, like, you hear her gasp over the credits and then the credit, like, you know what I mean? How it cuts to black. I like that. Stylistically, it's cool.
Yeah.
That twist is insane. And that was kind of the...
But not good insane.
No. That was kind of the general consensus as it came out.
I have
There's so much to talk about.
Oh my God. First of all, 38% Rotten Tomatoes, 74% audience score.
Audiences like this a lot more.
They do.
And I mean...
And I think I agree on the stylistic parts of it. And like the cool, like the visuals, the fucking casting of Florence Pugh with her back hurting the whole time because she's carrying this goddamn film. Nick Kroll shows up.
Nick Kroll, yeah.
Olivia Wilde just yanks him off a cart, tosses him aside like a rag doll.
Gemma Chan yet again has to work with some of the worst material of her life.
Gemma Chan.
She was in The Eternals and then this, and it's just like, give my girl something to do.
They gave her the same script. She's like, look longingly away from the camera.
Yeah.
And then just pause and hold your breath.
There's so much to cover about this movie. But let's talk about the twist. But to talk about it, I want to give you some context, okay?
Okay.
So I read this profile with Olivia Wilde. Now, one of the pull quotes I had heard that Olivia Wilde said before this film came out was, "Men don't come in this movie, only women." That's all I heard. All I heard about it.
Right,
However,
course.
I read that profile.
Yep.
Ironically, that profile is a huge fucking suck job for Olivia Wilde.
Sure.
It is. It's so effusive in its praise for her vision that it's a little grating, and especially in light of how this movie actually turns out, which she can't tell the person profiling her. She can't tell them that this movie is actually about people essentially raping a bunch of women for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
She can't tell them the twist, right?
Yes.
But the weird thing about the profile, she goes on, it's just this like weird pseudo-feminist mumbo-jumbo stuff that you're just kind of like, yeah, but all of that, all of the women coming and men not and all of that stuff, it makes no sense because of what happens in this movie.
Which is fun because even Olivia Wilde's character in this movie chooses to be in this world.
She knows.
And she knows, and she's like, okay, the misogyny is so internalized that why wouldn't you want to be in this utopia where you get to, come all the time?
Interesting comment. Interesting. That's an interesting lane that she could have explored more.
Yeah.
Can I just say, though, the thing that strikes me about this movie that's so frustrating, and listen, I guess I got skin in the game because I'm a man, but I have I consider myself a fairly feminist person. This movie is like, they did all this research on cults, on Jordan Peterson, who's objectively a bad person, who's a hero to some pretty bad people, and he guides them down the wrong path, especially men.
Yeah.
And they went on 4chan, they looked at incels, they did all this kind of stuff.
Man.
And yet, while I don't deny that people like that exist, the movie kind of feels like, it's like, isn't it disgusting how these men would be into this thing that I completely made up? And it's like, well, you just made this up. This is just a hypothetical in your head.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit like, I made up this fake scenario that it would be gross if someone was into this. And yeah, it is gross.
Yeah.
But by making such an absurd statement, you're not actually saying anything effective about very real problems with masculinity, with modern masculinity. It's to the point where you're just kind of like, this is insane. Like, it's so absurd, right?
I think her solution to this incel world of, red pill VR, where men get to have control over women, her solution is that if you die in this world, you die in real life. So a big part of that twist was Harry Styles, who's held Florence Pugh hostage this whole time. She gets to stab him and kill him. And then he's also gone in real life.
Yeah.
So is the only retribution for these men death? They're like beyond salvaging.
Yeah.
Or you can't reason with them because obviously they've, manufactured a world where they get to, interestingly, be the ones who have to still continue living in reality. So I assume they bring these women in. Mm-hmm. They make sure you guys have this wonderful life in this cul-de-sac where you are comfort of a home. And
you have what men perceive as something women should want.
Women should want, right?
Yeah.
But then the guys, I think, still end up having to leave this VR world, go back to reality.
Another absurd
fucking
thing.
pay rent, I guess.
The thing is that they have to leave Victory to go work at a normal job to pay the $6.99 plus ads fee to do this world, right? Which is the thing too is like he didn't have a job before he came across
so
this
what
thing.
is he doing?
So what was he doing?
So that's what I'm thinking. He's like going back to Tommy Wiseau's School of Acting and then just, coming back in the VR world to be like, oh, you're tearing this opportunity apart, Lisa. You don't know how good you have it here. And I'm English. And then he
hi, Frank.
and then Harry Styles is like, I'm going to do a bunch of barrel rolls. And he tap dances.
Yeah.
But he's so sad through it all because he's like, I'm having to work for my woman. And eat her pussy. Ready Player Come.
But
what is going on?
That's the other thing. Like, this is not an original idea. I've heard many people bring this up. Is like, if all of these men have this like fantasy world, why is it so focused on just mouth raping women? Like, it's.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's what I mean by the
That's
fact
how
that
absurd it is.
This profile in Variety where she talks about all this kind of like feminist ideas and stuff. And I completely admire Olivia Wilde for trying to make a feminist statement about internalized misogyny and things like that. And she didn't hit the mark, but she
tried.
Listen. She is a person who means well in this world as a director. And I will go see Olivia Wilde's films. Mm-hmm. But this like all of this stuff where she's talking about this is kind of, it's sadly ironic because of what the film ends up being about.
I know.
When you watch the trailer and you're like, oh, look at Florence Pugh getting fucked on the table again. And things like that.
Yeah.
But then it gets recontextualized when you know that the twist is so insane, and it diminishes what she's trying to do, and therefore the feminist side of this is at odds with the comment about men.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think they're two different films, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it boggles my mind to think, Yeah.
I guess her logic is that who would agree with a man like this, with the Rogan, Peterson, Shapiro's of the world?
Well, the most impactful part is the Olivia Wilde character herself, who chooses to be there, and Gemma Chan, who chooses to be complicit.
But then they want
to.
But like for Gemma Chan's character, it seems like, oh, you stupid man, you can even run this fucking fantasy world where you could control women, but I can control women better because ladies get the job done.
That's actually one of the weirdest unanswered questions of this film. Is like, what is Gemma Chan? What is in it for her? Really?
I guess it's power, because then she doesn't have many maybe in the real world, or she feels like her agency is taken away. She does it here totally,
but without Frank though.
Without Frank,
like, but
because she does have like
Nick Kroll. Like what?
She has authority with the ladies no matter what.
Yeah,
she walks into the room. They're all like
super authority. She makes them dance.
Oh my God, Miss Shelley.
She makes them ballet.
Look how pointy my toes are.
Yeah,
she can make me dance. Damn. What's your Olivia Wilde's character has the motivation that, her children are not alive in the real world anymore, but here she gets to have pretend kids, drink a bunch of alcohol, have no consequences.
Might as well be real, right? Like the kids are to all of, I mean, I get that, but that's such it becomes so muddled at the end there.
Yeah.
The idea doesn't really come across. And I think those kind of three ideas they're just ultimately at odds with each other, and the film doesn't really work in that way,
And so they're all also, it's not clear if only the men are. I'm assuming yes, that all the men have listened to this Red Pill podcast and we're like, all right, man, we're in the club. Everybody get your wives / girlfriends / maybe even women they don't know. Maybe they've kidnapped a bunch of women.
That was, I think Florence Pugh says that in the movie, right? Like that some people might be there against their will, right?
Yeah.
Because
they don't have an origin story.
The origin story is all the same.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a funny idea.
Explore that shit.
That, like, one of the most important things about this film is that it made Jordan Peterson cry when he found out that he was being compared to Chris Pine. Now, making Jordan Peterson cry is not difficult. He cries in every video he's ever posted.
Come on, man. Yeah.
I think that my comparison to Chris Pine was very nice. I think he's a very good-looking man. But the plight of men in the
Mr.
world
Peterson,
today.
no.
I sound surprisingly like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And Kermit the Frog.
I didn't even get to eat one puss.
But also, men.
It does sound like Kermit.
They should eat meat. A lot of it.
Good God.
And the Russian healthcare system is very good.
All right.
I totally knocked myself off track. Like, how do they get men to take part in this?
By brainwashing them through podcasting.
Yeah.
Like we're doing to our peers.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we're the Joe Rogan of mediocre films. Like, for example, here's a question I have at the end of this movie. Who's the bus driver? Like, where did he come from? Is he a guy in the world?
Yeah.
Is he a guy in the real world?
He's got a wife who's probably at his home, doing all the stuff that he goes
better
over
question.
To his job.
And I have to contribute this. I have to.
All men, I think, in this world are there knowing that they get to leave the world, so they have the knowledge of the crimes they're committing. I think it's implied that they know, and none of the women know. Except maybe two who are there voluntarily.
Another question, and now I will contribute this to an article I read by Roxana Hadidi in Vulture. Why is Dita Von Teese there? And who is she? Is she Dita Von Teese? She dances in the Martini Cup.
Oh, right. Dita Von Teese. Oh, my God. Right.
Is she there voluntarily?
No, God, no. Because she's a fantasy object.
Kidnap her?
Maybe.
Well, Well, exactly. Maybe like what?
But also, why Gemma Chan? Maybe Frank could have done it.
Maybe, but also what? Like,
I think it's just the ability to or get someone who is aging, who once used to be sexualized, who may still want to be sexualized, to continue to have that power.
Shots fired.
Well, like Olivia Wilde's character, who's like, well, yeah, I do want to be in a fake world where I get to have power. Or Gemma Chan's character is like, yeah, I'll boss over these bitches.
Yeah.
Hashtag gatekeep, girl boss,
Yeah.
get out. It's white women's get out.
a little. It's actually, it's trying to be. I think it is trying to be. Honorably, it's trying to be. But it's so not.
Yeah.
But the twist among its moral problems, in my opinion, it also just raises all these questions where like I remember I saw an interview where Olivia Wilde was talking about how it should recontextualize the film, right? And I'm like, well, it does. Not in the good way.
Not in a good way.
Like, not in a way you're thinking. And that's a fucking problem.
I think the cool part of this movie was that they were trying to talk about labor a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like just like productivity and the fucking constant need to be like, oh, you're worthless if you're not working and blah, blah, blah. Which they try to flip the script a little bit by going like, but in the 50s, we had it good, ladies, where you could take a chill pill, but not really.
There is like, okay, I think that there's like a rooted philosophical question at this, which is like, if you're in a simulation, you don't know you are, and you're happy.
Yeah.
If fucking Harry Styles is going down on you 3 times a day.
He's not forcing you to have children. Like, you don't even have to go get a job.
Yeah. If you're feeling happiness.
Yes.
And you don't know that it's against your will.
Yeah.
Is that real happiness? A philosopher could think that out. And that's, I think, like, that's the root question here, kind of, right? But obviously, when you find out that illusion is completely shattered, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same question The Matrix asks too.
Yeah.
Is like that's what fucking Joey Pants does in The Matrix. He's like, I know that this steak is just code, but it tastes delicious, and I'm okay to forget that I live in a computer. It's the same here, right?
Exactly.
And that's what Jack says at the end before Florence Pugh beats him to death. He's like, you were unhappy doing what you were doing.
Exactly.
But as she says, it was my life. I got to choose. I think that is an interesting philosophical question.
Yeah.
What it's trying to say about men and masculinity, it's a little too basic and surface level.
It's so sad. Yeah. It's like comically caricatured. It's
a caricature it feels like the writers like surfed the internet for like a month, and we're just like
in like 2006.
And I have to say, like, you see this all the time online and things like that. It's like, it just like I hate to use this term because I do respect Katie Silverman as a writer and I respect Olivia Wilde as a director, but it's like just this like Twittery internet brain rot
100%.
Where they think that like most people are bad people. And I don't want to psychoanalyze, but Olivia Wilde was also fucking getting divorced at the time from Jason Sudeikis in something that they claimed was very amicable, but then she was also fucking Harry Styles, which we'll get into, but like
and then Jason Sudeikis gave her divorce papers on a stage in a public place. But like which all that
he said he didn't mean for that to happen, but obviously that's an embarrassing thing to happen, and all, like, you know, why would you? That's a dickish thing to do. Ted Lasso, you fucking idiot.
And we knew he's a dick. We knew
there's just so, it just feels so like fucking went on 4chan once and and like talked to 4 people and was like, oh my god, 80% of men are awful, and it's like, maybe you might be right, but also I just don't feel like it's certainly subtlety is not a word in the dictionary of Victory, California, but also like it's just not really attacking this in an intelligent manner, I think.
It is so kind of shallow and just surface level in its critique of even 4chan. I'm saying there are so many, even if it is confined to the world of not all men, hashtag some men, whatever, these fucking red pill men, even that is, there's so much gold you could dig out of just that microcosm of garbage. Yeah. That it's, even that is just like, oh, they just want to kidnap and rape. And it's like, no, man, sometimes they just,
there's deeper,
there's so much more insidious.
There's deeper psychological problems at play, right? That you could be exploring. And also the interesting thing is like, you could make a movie. I remember, have you seen Spotlight?
Yes.
Right. So I remember a friend of mine, his like funny critique of Spotlight, which like Spotlight is a very good movie, but like his critique of Spotlight was like, there's no one on the other side of this issue. Like,
exactly.
No
Everyone
one's like,
agrees.
No one's like, Man, but shouldn't priests be allowed to touch kids? Like, no one's saying that.
No one's saying that.
And hold on. And with this film, you kind of have the and sometimes those movies, they get made into movies that win Best Picture or whatever. Yeah. And we've talked about them before where they can be a little bit like, it's like, well, this isn't that thematically interesting because everyone agrees with you. So like, who cares? I have to say there is a lot the reason like men's right activism exists is that there's a lot who do care. Not who are fucking going to Olivia Wilde movies. 100%. They're not going to watch this. So and we've talked about that before. That's right. But what I find interesting is that she has a subject in which so many people who are fans of Olivia Wilde, maybe seen something like Booksmart, or like, I want to go see her next movie. Maybe watched House, one of the greatest television shows of all time. They're like, oh, she's directing. She's a great actress. She's a director. She wrote it. Cool. Talented person. I want to go watch her movie. And she finds an issue that it's like, you pretty much have a landslide moral majority here. And yet she flipped it to where like a lot of really those people would be like, right, but that's insane. There's like, no debate. Yeah, no, there isn't a debate for what I think she's trying to say. Exactly. There's a debate whether this is an effective way of saying it. Oh my God. That's where the debate comes in. That's why it's at 38%. Well, it's also just the biggest problem is just very boring. There's no rating. Shockingly boring. Yeah, dude. And it's even more shocking because it came out of the same brain that Booksmart came out of, which had so much potential. Same writer too, Katie Silverman. Very good writer. Yeah. Okay, do you want me to give you a rundown of the drama surrounding this film? Oh my God, yes. Give me the goss. Which is more interesting than this movie. Like, that's the thing that, like, in Bilge Ebiri's Vulture review, he was, I think, like, a lot of people were basically saying, like, yeah, this movie's like not nearly as interesting what's happening around it. I will say one thing in that Roxanne Hadidi piece, though. She fucking had the best line to describe the film, was that it was a movie that is essentially a gif of Saoirse Ronan from Little Women screaming, "Women have minds." Yeah, but that for 2.5 hours. Yeah, pretty much. So this film, Olivia Wilde, Booksmart, comes off Booksmart. Yes. She's going to do this movie. Hot script. She writes it. Katie Silverman rewrites it. She rewrites parts of it. They do a bunch of research. She's blown away by Florence Pugh in Midsommar. Weirdly, Midsommar, it's kind of hard for me to not compare the message about men and women in Midsommar to this. Yeah, because it's so much more subtle in Midsommar and so much more interesting. Right. You know, Midsommar, a film that I'm up and down on, but overall I think is really good. Yeah. But when you think of the relationship between her and her boyfriend in that film, it's so much more real and interesting than it is in this, but that's okay. Yeah. She's blown away by Florence Pugh. She wants to work with her. She gets her on the film. She hires Shia LaBeouf to play Jack. This movie would have been so fucking different. Would have been a very different Would have been an actually maybe better movie with Shia LaBeouf. Maybe, yeah. Man. I mean, the one kind of, let's talk about the elephant in the room, is that Harry Styles is like one of the most famous people on earth. Yeah. I don't know a thing about the fucking guy. I frankly don't care about him at all. Yeah. I think he's a fine actor. It's weird because he's so famous. People really, really give him an unrealistically difficult time totally. Or an unrealistically effusive praise for his work. Yeah. And frankly, I've seen 2 movies he's been in and he's been totally okay. He's okay. He's middle of the line. Good looking guy. Okay guy. Guy can tap dance. I'm sure he can sing. He wrote the little melody in the that she keeps humming. He wrote that because he's Harry Styles. But Shia LaBeouf, right? They start to film. Shia is famously a difficult person. He can be. He works in a very specific way. And Olivia Wilde was like, I'm sorry, but we have to let him go. We have to drop Shia from this film. And Shia LaBeouf is like, okay. And I think later, just like 6 weeks later, Shia LaBeouf checks into rehab because he was going through some stuff at the time. He was also in the news because his girlfriend, FKA Twigs, had accused him of abuse. I don't know how that all ended up. I don't want to really speak on it. Shia LaBeouf is well known for having problems, having many problems, and can sometimes be a difficult person. He's been in a lot of movies I've really liked, and I've liked him in, honestly. Like, you know,
he's fucking everything.
He can be quite good.
Every time he comes out, we all just shout out Shia,
but
and then in real life,
we've covered a couple of films on this pod too, when he was just a precocious young kid. But he has become very. I think his working style has just become so. Yeah, it can be difficult, right? He's got a process. That's what Olivia Wilde says. Like, he has a process. It wasn't working. It wasn't. I think what she said was it wasn't conducive to a like chill environment. And I'm like, that makes sense because it's Shia LaBeouf.
Okay, yeah.
To get Shia out of the way, after this comes out in the press, Shia releases some stuff some voicemail stuff with Olivia Wilde where it kind of sounds like Olivia Wilde is blaming it on Florence Pugh and saying that Florence and Shia, if they can work it out between each other, they'll keep Shia. She didn't want to get rid of him. And Shia left willingly. That's what he's saying to her. Oh. That never really went anywhere, but it hints at the fact that Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh apparently
feuding
did not get along on this film.
Oh my God.
We'll talk about it in a second. Later, when this film is at the film festivals where people started to see how flabbergastingly awful it could be.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh is nowhere to be found. She's in Venice, just elsewhere all the time. She's either shooting Dune 2 or she's promoting, I believe, that Irish movie where she encounters the miracle girl.
Oh, yeah.
Which was quite good.
Oh, yeah.
But I think she was also promoting that. But
oh, man.
The key thing is like she's almost never with them. And when she is, she avoids Olivia Wilde completely.
They have so many scenes together in the movie.
I know. Yeah.
Wow. A consummate actor.
What I heard was, and maybe this wasn't from Florence Pugh, but there was tension from the fact that Olivia Wilde was fomenting a relationship with Harry Styles on set. And it was a little difficult to work in that environment.
Nice.
I don't know what was going on. But anyway, the word is Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles start dating, and apparently they still are. And then there's the spitting incident.
Oh, that was that I remember, where they're all lining up to take their seats.
They're all seated.
They're all seated, and then someone is about to sit next to Chris Pine, and they say Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine.
Yeah. Did you see the video?
Yeah, but it looks like nothing.
It was really overblown. I watched it, and so but the word was that Chris Pine was pretty like during the all of the panels and stuff about this film, he was pretty like, get me out of here. Like, please. And like he was not, he was just not enjoying the promo for the film, it seemed. That was the impression people were getting, right? And then there's this video that comes out that it looks like Harry Styles spits in his lap.
Yeah, and it's dumb.
To the untrained eye. If you watch it a couple of times, I think what happened is just a complete coincidence.
Also, maybe it's like a fucking popcorn or something. Like, who knows?
But Harry Styles also, he looks down at Chris Pine's lap, sort of, and it looks like he kind of nods and says something. And then Chris Pine, at the same time, stops clapping and looks in his lap. And I feel like there was either words exchanged and not in a negative way. Yeah. But like, you're just like, if someone would spit on a person, you would see them spit on a person, right?
Which is, come on, man.
Yeah.
I know he's British and all, but I don't think he would spit.
No, he's a good boy.
Yeah.
He's in a fucking boy band.
He's literally watermelon sugar. He would never do that.
Is that a reference to whatever band he's in?
No, it's just a song that he did.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a reference to whatever band he's in. Oh. Yeah. What band is he in?
He's just his own man. He's not in One Direction anymore, no?
He was in One Direction?
He was the titular direction.
No, there was many directions.
There were many, and then Harry Styles and Zayn Malik just went their own
question. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Who is Nick Jonas?
Wait, fuck, are they? No, they're the Jonas Brothers. That's a different band.
Oh, interesting.
That's the other direction.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
But wait. Was Harry Styles, now this is some deep internet stuff.
Yeah.
He was in a band with 4 people, right?
That's right.
Maybe
5.
Is there like a big thing where people think he's gay with another guy?
Probably, because there's a lot of speculation of him having like a Mick Jagger-esque kind of cadence where now in modern times,
I've always compared the two. Yeah.
Modern times, it can be a little like, oh my God, he's so fashionable and he pulls off all these outfits effortlessly and the women love him and guys will go to his concert.
He's an attractive man. Yeah.
He's a beautiful man. And also, he did so many fucking bucket flips, tap dancing.
Yeah.
Just excellent execution. But then so does Ryan Gosling. So there is no spectrum out of order.
I watched a panel video of him at the Venice Film Festival or something, or one of the film festivals where he's on a panel answering a question. He's wearing one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in my life. And yet I was just kind of, I mean, this guy can pull it off, man. He's a style icon.
Yeah.
And so
fashion.
Basically it all
compounds.
It all kind of ends with the spitting incident. You know, that's kind of, and then the movie comes out and everyone's like, oh, it's not good. So it's not really worth talking about anymore.
I know that this movie, everyone is like, oh, la la la, so poorly fucking finished and everything. But all the stuff leading up until the end, pretty great. Decent pace. It's mostly considered.
I completely disagree. I think it's
really?
So boring. I think the biggest crime of this film is it's so fucking boring. Cool imagery with no purpose.
Perhaps a miniseries. More justice
I don't want to spend
as a
more
three-parter
time in this,
instead of like a one continuous 2.5 hour saga of where everybody knows something is coming, but nothing interesting ever comes out of it.
Sorry, are you proposing
I'm proposing
a longer, less interesting miniseries to replace?
saying if this was like split into like 30-minute episodes and it was like 3 episodes, or whatever, like an hour long.
I don't know.
It
wouldn't. The problem is like if you're not already bored by the end, you're kind of like just dumbstruck by the twist, right? That's the That's the dual issues at this film is like you're just kind of like watching it for most of the time, being like, boy, I hope something happens. And then when something happens, you're like, no, not that. Like, not that.
Don't do that.
Now, something, I wish something different happened. Again, not good criticism to be like, oh, I wish the film was different. But I do wish it was better. Like, I
don't know, man. I think they lost out by casting very attractive people and then trying to tell us that, oh, but they're so ugly in real life that they had to kidnap these women so they could be hot in VR.
Yeah.
It's just not convincing. Like Harry Styles, Chris Pine, come on. All they need to do is walk in the same direction as you. Not even. Yeah,
like what? I mean, all of the people in this are like so beautiful.
They're all beautiful. So who's kidnapping who?
What are like, frankly, what are all these like, I will say, all of the women are all beautiful women in this. Yeah. Like, what are they doing with a bunch of fucking troll internet freaks in the real world?
Which is why there's the question of like maybe they're not even there by choice. Like
none of them are there by choice. Maybe sorry, a few of them are there by choice, but yeah.
Oh, I just mean like maybe they're not even in relation to them. Maybe they're a neighbor who was drugged and kidnapped.
I think the hint of the one woman who's like got the short pixie cut hair.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're getting at with that, but they never really make it that explicit, I don't think.
Maybe you're just a coworker and then you just like, oh man. See, explore things like that where the terror is real, where like you actually have something to worry about with these incels. But really the worst thing you have to worry about incels is being in a chat room with them.
Okay. Here's what I think of that. Do you know the name Elliot Rodger?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a guy who shot a bunch of people, right? Yeah. He's a mass shooter. And that's like, it's a horrible, awful story. And he in his like manifesto or whatever, he talked about like the incel thing back in when it happened and all this kind of shit. It's terrible. And I have to say, even though I haven't seen this film, there's a movie called The Beast, which references this very heavily, which I really want to see. It's a French film.
Oh.
That story is the most extreme version of what is thematically at play here, you know?
Yeah.
But like the other thing too about someone writing a film and being like, Jordan Peterson is a real problem. It's like, if you know anything about Jordan Peterson, you know that guy is a complete fuck up. Yeah. Like he's just a fuck up. Yeah, he was a professor. Yes, he has a big message. He has a big platform and stuff. That's not illegal or anything like that. But also, he's a complete fucking tool. and most people like see him speak and they're just like, what a fucking tool.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's unfortunate that you're just kind of like, man, a bunch of stupid people would really be a problem if they, I guess I don't know.
Like, this movie is warranted because there's a bigger number for the people who are like, oh, I guess that guy makes sense. That's why this movie exists. Because more than like fucking top of the list Spotify downloads for a Joe Rogan podcast accounts for a movie like this.
Yeah.
Where a lot of this content is pretty much like, did you see that chimp punch the gorilla or whatever? And it's like, yeah, man. But then it's only because of testosterone, and also women should cook. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying, like, we went through this like last year with fucking that Andrew Tate guy.
Yeah,
who's
there
like,
you are.
The funny thing about Andrew Tate is like he's an insane man who's also like a pimp. And so
but he also literally got punished for it.
Yeah, well, not fully, but like people are just like, oh my, I can't believe men are like this. It's like the hand wringing over stuff where you're just like, if you're not a fucking idiot, you know that this is not that big a problem.
Yeah.
And as a man, like sometimes as a man, it's a little, frankly, it can be a little offensive to feel like people think that just because you're a guy, you fall for this stuff.
Or that you are that dangerous because you're
yeah. And women have plenty of reasons to be afraid of men in general, and
Fair
I get
enough.
it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, there's also this internet brain rot thing where people make the problems outsized than what they are, and they become afraid of the world, and they think that what they read online is all real and that it's really happening and it's a huge problem when really it's not. And I think this movie is indicative of that.
It is. And the fact that it tanked is also indicative of that. Is that so many people, just people in general, like moviegoers are like, come on, man. At least make it a little bit more believable in its twist.
Make it dark and scary and fucked up. Like it's so
outsized and
mockable that you're just kind of like, it's so fucking what? Like,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Like you want it to be disturbing. You should want it to be like the stuff with Elliot Rodger and things like that. And also like a person like Jordan Peterson, who's not a total fucking fuck up, would be a problem. But the problem is all of those guys eventually, they are outed as just being like, oh my God, this person is a fucking train wreck of a 100%. Person. They're not capable of this, you know?
And none of that audience will ever know the wonderment that is the ending of Don't Worry, Darling.
Because they're sexist. Yeah, they're not even here to watch it.
They might watch it. Yeah, that's true. Like, a woman director? Not in my timeline.
Can you imagine this like changing someone's mind? Like they were like, oh man, I used to think women couldn't do anything, and now I watch Don't Worry, Darling, and now I'm like, sometimes they can.
That's right.
Yeah.
She does want to work 80 hours a week.
Women have minds.
Women have minds.
Women have minds.
Tell them, Saoirse.
Saoirse. It's a silly film. Tis a silly film.
Tis a silly film. Oh,
I'm here for it. I was really put off by the Variety profile of Olivia Wilde because it was like it was completely.
It was Jane or D for
it
all
was
the wrong
it was
reasons.
completely uncritical of her. You know? Like, and in a way that it was like, I feel like it would be different if you had known what happened in this film, actually. But like I said before, like it just feels at odds with what the movie ends up being about. When you say all of this stuff, like she was making it out to be a movie that's like empowering to women, and it's like they live in fucking VR rape land. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it just doesn't make. But obviously she can't give away the twist because then that fucks the movie.
Yeah,
it's hard to reconcile in my head what was going on. It's very strange. Yeah.
I feel like if this movie was directed by a guy, he would get dragged to the end of the world.
It would be Blonde by Andrew Dominic. Yeah, a movie we should cover. Yeah.
Oh my God, I think it does. It does.
Andrew, seriously, if a guy directed this, it would be like what the reaction was to Blonde.
Sure.
They would be like, this man can't make films anymore.
Cancel this man.
Go back to Australia, you fool.
These are terrible things.
Yeah. You never saw Blonde, did you?
No, but I know
we'll see it.
Yeah. Oh God.
You ever wanted to look at a birth canal? Yeah.
Almost exclusively.
Oh
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
That's how I think most films should be filmed.
I'm just wondering if like the Avatar universe had 4chan and then they took those learnings into the Avatar world.
What if like What if one of the people in Victory, California,
Yeah.
he just shows up like Nick
Blue.
Kroll unabashedly is like a 9-foot tall blue guy, and people are all in like a suit,
Hell
and
yeah.
people are like, yeah, that's our Navi, and he just loves it here, and he's like, hey, like,
Yeah, I'm walking it.
that would be much more chilling than
It would never be as inclusive as Avatar.
And then
did.
every time he talks to Chris Pine, he's like, I thought you said we would all be Navi. That's why I chose to look like this.
He would just never be pulled into the joke. He would just be, aw.
Chris Pine would be like, men should appear however they wish to the world, and women shouldn't really have anything to say about it.
And all women should look like my sister. Because
I want to tongue kiss my daughter,
Jesus Christ.
but mostly when I'm podcasting with her, where all we talk about is how we want to
should keep
kiss
it in
each
the
other.
family.
We should think daughters and fathers should kiss on the mouth.
Jesus Christ.
I'm Jordan Peterson, and this is my message to men. Kiss people.
Ask them.
Touch cats.
Jesus Christ.
Is that enough about that? Yeah, I'll keep
A
going.
haunting rendition.
I'll keep going.
No, let us not.
Congresswoman, I'm Jordan Peterson.
Thank you for listening to us talk about Ready Player Come. It's been a great day.
Oh, don't worry, darling. I'm worried.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, when the sequel comes out, we'll definitely cover it. So
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
It's been the low ceiling.
It has been low ceiling. I've been John. You've been free.
Mwah.
Kiss her.
Kiss. Gross.
Kisses from JP.
Bye.
JP, love you.